Well, good morning. We've got a Bobcat 5600 Toolcat broken down in the middle of the road, lost all hydraulics, has no drive, no lift or tilt. Does that sound familiar? It's kind of like our skid steers, right? Our skid steers have a drive belt that transfers power from the engine to the hydraulic pump. Well, the Toolcat kind of works the same way. We have a drive belt from the engine crank pulley that turns the hydraulic pump. And you know, these are awesome machines, four-wheel drive, 17 miles an hour, all-wheel steer. You've got the front lift attachment. If you're not familiar with these Toolcats, they're really cool. And you can run high-flow attachments, and they've got a big snowblower on this, a big Bobcat SB240, which is high-flow. So, to turn these wheels and that snowblower and everything takes a lot of horsepower that we're running through a relatively small belt. And I'm pretty sure that's what the problem with this is. Now, we hadn't got into it yet, but let's take a difference between the drive belts of the Toolcat versus a skid steer. So this is like a serpentine belt that you would have on your, pickup truck or your car. It's kind of a lighter duty, but 60 horsepower through this belt, as opposed to same 60 horsepower engine and a skid steer. We got a much bigger, heavier duty belt. So what happens is these tensioners get out of adjustment. People don't keep the tensioners adjusted properly, and you usually lose a tensioner. So if you're doing a drive belt on your Toolcat, go ahead and plan on doing a tensioner at the same time. And a problem we have is that all the work we have to do is underneath the bed, and this is a hydraulic tilting bed. But we have no hydraulics, right? So how do we get the belt up? Well, luckily in my case, I'm just one guy. I've got a crane on my truck, so we're gonna lift this up with the crane. I can actually put the crane on it. I can open the valve in the cab, and that'll allow the hydraulic oil to flow through the cylinders as I lift the bed up. However, if you don't have a crane and a couple guys, you've got your hydraulic cylinders underneath the bed here. Real easy to get to the lines. You'll crack the lines, loosen them up, and then two guys can lift this bed up and get the hydraulic or get the cylinder lock on there to hold the bed up. So I'm going to go ahead and get my crane out, and we're going to get this thing lifted up. So right now I am holding the valve open inside the cab, and I'm just slowly lifting this bed up. And once I get the bed raised up, we've got a hydraulic lockout, or a bed lockout right here on the hydraulic cylinder, and that'll keep us safe so that the bed don't fall down and crush us. We certainly wouldn't want that. I'm just going to leave my crane attached to the bed, so we got a lockout and the crane holding the bed up, which is more than enough. But well, I hope the sun comes up, man. It is 15 degrees out here, and when I grabbed the crane to hook it to the strap, my hand stuck to the crane. So let's get some gloves on and get torn into this thing. So our drive belt is behind this plate right here, and in order to get this plate off, we're going to have to remove a couple things like our DOC. It's kind of like our catalytic converter, or if you want to call it muffler or whatever, but it's a DOC, and we're going to have to remove that and this little side cover here. And we're just going to use a little Torx bit to remove this side cover. And we access those screws from underneath the fender. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. And just get this little side cover out of the way, and get the icicles coming off this machine. It's cold out here, well, I guess now that I got that cover off, I'm pretty sure it's a drive belt. This is kind of what's left of our drive belt. So yeah, we exploded a belt, and you know, I could easily knock this job out pretty quick. The only reason I film it and post these is to help you guys out. Even if you don't own a Toolcat, it's still neat to see how these systems work and how these repairs go. So, you know, if this helps you at all, man, a thumbs up just goes a long way. Subscribe, whatever, I don't care. I'll never ask you to subscribe, but a thumbs up just to let me know you guys like these videos really helps out a lot and kind of gives me the encouragement to keep doing them for you. So now I'm going to get this DOC out of the way. Even the tool batteries don't work good when it's this cold. You just don't have the torque you normally would with warm batteries. So this band clamp that I'm taking off now is what actually hooks the DOC to the manifold, the exhaust manifold. And now that I got the DOC out of the way, you got a little donut gasket that goes on that pipe, and don't lose that. You're gonna have to buy another one. These are, you can reuse these, that's not a problem. And here's our DOC. So that's all it is, just some straps that hold it on to the mount there. Get that out of the way, and now I gotta actually take the DOC mount off. So hopefully my impact has enough juice to get these bolts out. Oh yeah. Our DOC mounting bracket, 6 bolts holding that thing on. Yeah, I guess overkill, I don't know. So now we got to pull our outer plate off here and our muffler bracket. So this is all a 13 millimeter, and they're just all the way around the plate. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these out of the way. And then I can now remove my belt cover. You can see the exhaust pipe is kind of bolted to the cover. You don't have to take it all the way off. The whole cover and pipe come out as one piece. Now we can kind of see what's going on down in here. Here's our pump pulley right here. You can see we've got belt wrapped around it. So we got to make sure we get all this shredded belt material off this pump pulley. And here's the tensioner. This is what I was telling you. This is what usually fails, is the tensioner itself. And see, it completely broke off. This is what's left of our belt. You know, it got it all shredded down in there. What I'm looking at now is if there's any damage. If there's any damage to our flywheel or our crank pulley. Actually, everything looks good, although that tensioner was down there bouncing around. This is where our actual tensioner mounts. I mean, you know, this is just a spring tensioner. Like I said, same thing you'd find on, you know, your car, your Chevrolet pickup, whatever the case may be. Center bolt. And we can remove the whole tensioner. And that's what it's supposed to look like, but it broke right in half. So, and then this piece here is kind of our tensioner stop to keep the tensioner from bouncing too much, and that's usually what's out of adjustment and allows this thing to really bounce around and break. So we're going to get this tensioner stop out of the way so we can put our new tensioner on. It took me about 15 minutes to get all this belt material out from behind the hydraulic, the pump pulley itself. It's real important to get all this out of that pulley because it can wind up in there and heat up and damage our seal behind that. So it's very important to get all that garbage out of there. Now we can mount our new tensioner. And of course, torque it to spec. Click, click. And using a 3/8 drive ratchet, we can see we can move that tensioner where we need to so we can get the belt on. So that's how we loosen the tensioner once we get ready to pop this belt over the pulleys. Make sure all our grooves are lined up. I'll put a little back pressure on that pulley. I'm just kind of pushing down on that tensioner just to make sure it's good and tight. And now our tensioner stop bracket will get bolted back in. And I know it's hard to see, but right here, this stop bracket, see it's kind of got a slotted hole, but we want it butted up to our actual tensioner to keep that bounce out of it, because if it's off of it, the tensioner just sits here and bounces as we go under load and, you know, release the load on the machine as we're driving, starting and stopping. So this is the part that we want to constantly adjust, you know, every 500 hours or so. Just put this stop down on that on the tensioner itself. Now that our new drive belt and tensioner is installed, we can go ahead and start putting the machine back together. You know, I get asked a lot, why do you like field service, you know, out there battling the elements and the cold and the heat, and you know, I don't know. I've done field service a long time, and I really enjoy it. Like this morning, although it's 17 degrees out, well, the sun's coming up. It's probably closer to 20 now, and that's Fahrenheit. That's freedom units. So yeah, it's cold, but I'm not cold. My hands hurt a little bit, but I keep a torpedo heater in the back of my truck for when it does get really, really cold. You know, I've got ways to handle the extreme cold, I guess, let's say. But yeah, I'm way up in the mountains, and the drive in this morning, the sun just coming up over the mountains, and you know, saw a bunch of elk, you know, coming up the mountains, and which is always really cool to see, and quite a few deer and all, because it just, I don't know, just getting out and seeing things new, and doing challenges like this, which I've done so many now that it's kind of common course. But there's people even in the shop who's never done a drive belt, because when a drive belt breaks, it's usually in the field and it can't be towed in or whatever the case may be. So it's usually a field guy going out to fix this type of stuff. But yeah, I love being outdoors. I love seeing the great state of the state I live in, I guess. It's really cool. I really enjoy it. I never have a bad day. Some days are better than others, but I never have a bad day. Always make the best of it. I guess a lot of it has to do with the attitude you go into the job with. You know, I go into every job as a new learning experience, you know. And the satisfaction of being the one who has to get the machine going when it's down, you know, it's just there's a sense of satisfaction at the end of every job. So I guess that's why I enjoy it. That blower was completely frozen to the ground. But we now have hydraulics again. We have steering, and I'm sure we're gonna have drive. So that job took about an hour and a half to do, fairly straightforward. And guys, I can't thank you enough for watching and supporting the channel. You really are the only reason I do these videos. So like I said, thanks again for the support. The thumbs up on the videos really goes a long way, man. If you're not subscribed, I'd like to have you. But anyways, if you have any questions on that repair, please let me know, and thanks for watching.